I'll be right back.
Matthew Lillard is coming back for Scream 7, and Kevin Williamson is coming back to write it and this time direct it. So no, Stu is not going to be the big bad. Truth be told, I actually wrote this script over a year ago, and I even filmed a version of it. Roll the clip. But just like Ghostface, I'm back now taking another stab at it. And what changed this time? What really motivated me to make this video is the film theory video that came out recently saying about how Stu is going to be the big bad of Scream 7, and I just wholeheartedly disagree with it. So I'm going to recap the film theory video right now. Basically, a majority of its runtime is spent proving how he could have survived the TV falling on him, which is cool science stuff. I agree with, it's awesome. But then it moves on to a little bit more crazy town of saying since Matthew Lillard cameoed in Scream 2 and 5, that means Stu has been in the background this whole time pulling the strings. They also used the real-world evidence of Kevin Williamson writing a draft script for Scream 3 where Stu does return as the killer, but then they had to change it because of the Columbine tragedy, and so they're saying, hey, he never got to do that idea back in Scream 3, so let's do it now, I guess. I'll get to why I don't like this idea and I don't think it's going to happen, but first, there is one piece of evidence that is in film theory's favor here on why it might happen that they don't even mention in the video. It's that Scream 5 and 6 mirror the events of Scream 1 and 2. Spoilers, I guess, for every Scream movie. In Scream 1, it is the love interest who is Ghostface. In Scream 5, it is the love interest who is Ghostface. In Scream 2, it is the love interest's parents who is Ghostface. In Scream 6, it is the love interest's parent who is Ghostface. Now, in Scream 3, it was revealed to only be one Ghostface who was pulling the strings the entire time. They came up with this whole idea to get some big revenge on Sidney. So you could say in Scream 7, Stu could be that one person revealed to only be one Ghostface pulling the strings the whole time. And there, it's a perfect mirror of the original trilogy. And here's where I disagree with everything, and I don't want to call the film theorists stupid or anything or make fun of them, but I just think it's too predictable. Making Stu Ghostface again seems to be kind of the most predictable thing in the world. Since we already know Matthew Lillard is going to be in the movie, it would have been one thing if it was kept a secret from us and we didn't know this, and then at the very end of the movie when Ghostface removes its mask, oh my god, it's actually Stu. Theater goes crazy, Avengers Endgame level clapping.
Surprise, Sidney.
And sure, that would have been fun, but also the point of Scream is it's a whodunit, and you need to be able to guess who is Ghostface. And if Stu appears earlier in the movie, then also you'll be able to guess that it's him. But if he doesn't appear in the movie until he removes his mask, then also, yes, it would be a cheer-worthy moment, but also not rewarding for the audience at all, because how could we have ever guessed that? Anyway, that's not the world we're living in. We're living in the world where we do know Matthew Lillard is returning, and I just think if he is Ghostface, not only is it predictable and sort of boring, it's just not good for the characters. They make Stu be a pretty stagnant character who doesn't change or grow. He was bad and evil in the first movie, and now he's coming back and he's bad and evil again with nothing really changing about him, or even maybe Sidney for that part, because she's just fighting the same guy she fought the first time. So that also doesn't make for very exciting storytelling. It also doesn't work thematically because all of these movies have been about breaking the cycle of violence, and Stu, if he just, continues his cycle of violence, that's really not saying anything. Scream 5 and 6 really dipped into this with the whole Sam storyline about her resisting the violent urges she gets from her father. And so I would like to see Stu sort of resist those urges too. So if Stu isn't Ghostface, who is? Wouldn't it just be another predictable Scream movie at that point? No. I don't think so, because I have a pitch/prediction for how Scream 7 is going to go, and let's just say it's one that ties in thematically of breaking the cycle of violence. It furthers Stu and Sidney as characters, and is commentary about our modern-day justice system. So without further ado, this is my Scream 7. We open on news footage. A young new reporter reports live in New York City on the carnage of Scream 6. A silhouette of a man watches the newscast on his TV. He watches in a dingy mobile home. The doors have several deadbolts and the windows are boarded up. Just then, ring ring, this is the signature opening phone call. We pan up to see it's him, Stu Mocker. He picks up the phone. It's Billy's voice. Kind of like what Sam experiences, Billy is telling him to get out of hiding, find Sidney, finish what they started. Then there's banging on the door. Someone's outside. Stu panics. Over the phone, Billy says, "Kill Sidney or I kill you." Stu grabs a knife, knowing what comes next after the phone call. The door bursts open, but it's not Ghostface. It's the FBI, led by Kirby. His mobile home is swatted, and Stu drops the knife and goes into their custody. Then we cut to news footage of Stu being arrested after being in hiding for almost 30 years. The news anchor reports that Stu's trial date has been set and a judge has been appointed. A teen girl sits on the sofa in a modest middle-class home with the news on in the background, but what she's really watching is thirst edits of Stu on her phone. She gets a call from her friend. They discuss the news and how hot they think Stu is in a DILF kind of way. The girl begins to walk around her house and we see a family photo on the wall. Her mom is the judge that was shown in the news. Her friend makes a joke. "Make sure your mom finds him innocent so then I can hook up with him." Her friend then says, "OMG, I need to FaceTime you. I need to show you something." They FaceTime, but her friend is only showing the top half of her face. The phone pans down to reveal she's missing her jaw. Then her voice switches to the classic Ghostface voice, as her friend's dead body falls from the second story of the house. That's right, the call was coming from inside the house, and Ghostface is there with her. We get a classic Scream chase scene that ends with the girl meeting her demise by the hands of Ghostface. On the wall, written in girl's blood, is "Free Stu." That's our classic opening phone call. And ever since Stu got taken in custody, there have been Ghostface outbreaks all over the country. Think like the clowns in 2016. Stu is now being held in custody, being personally watched over by Kirby, and Kirby has to go leave the police station to go find a certain someone. So when she leaves the police station, there's a big crowd of people outside with signs saying "Free Stu," "Stu is innocent," and all this stuff. She pushes her way through the crowd, gets in her car. Then Kirby arrives at a small home in the countryside, knocks on the door, and Sidney opens it with her husband, Officer Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey. He's returning, and we see that they have a teenage-ish age daughter. I think the math on that is around, she would probably be 13, and maybe some younger kids as well. And this is the first time they're seeing each other since the events of Scream 4, so they have a nice hug, and Sidney invites her in. Inside the house, Kirby is like, "Hey, we need you to testify in court against Stu." And that's sort of my setup pitch for everything. Tell me if you like it or not, or if I'm crazy. But you might be wondering, well, where does the actual Ghostface and killing part come in? Well, the whole movie centers around the trial of Stu. He pleads innocent. He pleads insanity because saying he was manipulated by Billy and Roman, and is like, "Hey, this wasn't my plan. I didn't want any part of this, but, Billy took advantage of my mental illness and roped me into this. It's all his fault. I'm innocent," which is a pretty sound case. And then the Ghostface killings start happening again, but this time Ghostface is killing people that would testify against Stu. Now it seems like the Ghostface who is running around killing people is very pro-Stu, free Stu. and is killing anyone who might think he's guilty, like the jury members or maybe the lawyers or influential people. And since Ghostface is killing all these people who are anti-Stu, immediately the blame goes to Stu, saying he is Ghostface again. But it can't be, because Kirby knows Stu was in police custody the whole time. So Kirby decides the best way to catch a Ghostface is with another Ghostface. So she recruits Stu to help her in her investigation, to look at the evidence and be like, hey, if you were Ghostface doing this, like, how would you do it? Who would you be? What's the motivation here? And I think that would be fun, because we've never had a Ghostface live and survive a movie and return later on, and this time he's helping the good guys, which I think is a fun twist. And since this is a trial of Stu, that means we get to bring back even more characters to testify, which is pretty fun. We're already bringing back Kirby, Sidney, and Kincaid, but we can also bring back Leslie. Okay, so apparently when I wrote this script over a year ago, I confused the character Leslie with the character Martha. Basically, Leslie is Stu's sister, who we never see on screen. She's just mentioned by name in Scream 5. Martha is Randy's sister, who had one scene in Scream 2 and then shows up again in Scream 5 as Mindy and Chad's mom. So Leslie, since we never see her, is technically not a returning character, but since we've heard of her before, she falls into this category, and that's who I'm talking about, Stu's sister. And, you know, since she's the sister, she can testify being like, well, I've known Stu since he was a kid and all this stuff. So it'd be fun to bring her in there as well. And then we can also bring back Neil, who is Sidney's dad. Believe it or not, he is still alive in this franchise. He never got killed. And again, he was a personal victim of Stu in the first movie, being held in that closet and tied up and kidnapped and stuff. So he can be there to testify. And we know Melissa Barrera or Jenna Ortega will not be returning, but you know who can return? Their mom, Christina. Interjecting again to say Christina, again, is also not a character we actually see in the movies. She's just mentioned. There is no actor that plays her yet. But again, it's that sort of weird territory where she's mentioned, she's talked about, but we've never actually seen her. So I'm gonna technically count this as a returning character. So she can return because she did sleep with Billy in high school, which would make you think she knew Stu in high school as well. And so maybe she can come and testify for a little bit too. So a list of the returning characters would be Sidney, Stu, Kirby, Kincaid, Neil, Leslie, Christina, and of course we have Gail, who's there reporting it all live. And Martha. And then also apparently Dewey's coming back. I don't know how that works. In my version, I'm treating his death in Scream 5 as canon, so sorry. New characters would involve Sidney's teen daughter, the two lawyers on each side, the judge, all the jury members, and I think there can even be some red herring of Ghostface who's like a super Stu fangirl, and she's like the president of the Free Stu movement, and I think she would be a fun character. Because if you can't tell already, the whole theme and messaging I'm going for with this movie is pedestalizing criminals and treating them as like they're super hot and sexy and stuff like that. When I first wrote the script for this video, the person I was using as an example was Gypsy Rose, because that was really relevant at that time and how she had all this, you know, popularity and people loved her. And now making this video, it's someone else who's allegedly killed someone. And I get it. Stu is completely different from these two people and is not really the same case at all. But still, you can look throughout the years of actual serial killers and their fan base, and of mostly women who found them attractive and still sort of pardoned them for their crimes. And yeah, that's the whole thing I'm getting at here, is it can be sort of a meta moment of, the teenage girls today looking at pictures of Stu when he was a teenager being like, oh my god, he was so hot back then. But now looking at him now, it's like, oh yeah, he's a DILF sort of thing. And I think it would be really fun to play with that idea, because in all the Scream movies, we've never had a Ghostface survive. All of them just immediately get killed at the end of the movie. So I think it would be really interesting to see Ghostface actually be held accountable for their actions, and having a Ghostface that can talk about what they did afterwards and reflect on it and see if they apologize, grow, or whatnot. And, we don't know what Stu is saying, if he actually believes it or if his lawyer is just telling him to say that. Where is the real Stu? And within the Scream movies, there have always been the cheesy horror franchise of the Stab movies, which are horror movies based on the events of Sidney in her real life. But this time, instead of a Stab movie being made, I think it would be really interesting if it was a true crime documentary being made about the trial of Stu, because now true crime documentaries are the big thing now. There's a part of me that thought, oh, maybe it could be Gail making the true crime documentary, but that would be resetting her character arc, for the 5th time now. So no, Gail is not going to be some money-hungry journalist that will sell her friends out. We've done that storyline too many times. She's grown. She's officially changed. She's not doing that anymore. Okay, so maybe we can bring in like a rival to Gail, as there usually is one in these movies, who's making the true crime documentary and kind of making it sloppily, and Gail can call them out or something. Fun premise and everything, but who is Ghostface and who actually dies? Well, starting out with the people who die, this Ghostface, again, is killing people who are anti-Stu. So that could be anyone on the jury that's anti-Stu, maybe the lawyer that's going against Stu, and especially the people testifying against him, which would be Leslie, Neil, Christina, Kincaid, Sidney even. I'm joking. I think it's best to keep the family together, so I don't think I would kill Kincaid here. So then who would Ghostface be? Well, after thinking long and hard about it, I want it to be a returning character, because that has never happened before. Even though it's said at the beginning of every sequel, they're like, oh, this is a sequel now. That means anything could happen. Even one of us is Ghostface. And then it never happens. So this time we actually have to make it happen by making a returning character be Ghostface, which is actually kind of hard to do, since, they're all beloved by fans, and it would be basically character assassination by having any one of these people kill innocent people. What's the best solution? Well, option 1, I think, is Leslie. Again, technically, Leslie would be a new character, not a returning character, so my bad, but still I think everything I'm about to say is pretty valid reasoning on why she could be Ghostface, because I don't think Martha would make a very good Ghostface. She is Stu's sister after all, and would make sense. Maybe she would want to free Stu because she loves Stu, and she goes to kill all these anti-Stu people to let him be free. But also, I think it would be interesting if the Ghostface motivation was actually not pro-Stu, but is actually an anti-Stu person running around killing other anti-Stu people just to make the pro-Stu people look bad and make sure Stu is sent away for good. And in this sense, it can sort of play with the cycle of violence theming of maybe Stu was an abusive brother towards her as a child, and that led to her also maybe being violent, and something like that. Who knows? So I think Leslie is certainly an interesting option. Maybe a little too predictable, but I don't know. My other pick for someone who's maybe less predictable is Neil. That's right, Sidney's dad. It would make sense that after all this time, he would want to get revenge on Stu, because basically he is responsible for ruining his daughter's life. Like, his daughter's life changed complete trajectories after the events of Scream 1 and has put her through so much. It would make sense that a loving, protective father would go to the extreme to protect his daughter and now his grandchildren from someone like Stu, and he'll take it into his own hands. And this way it can be sort of, another commentary about the cycle of violence, almost as if maybe even like a death penalty metaphor, I guess, of, Neil was like, oh, Stu deserves to die for what he did. And then maybe some other characters would be like, well, no, like, the justice system, we can put him away, life sentence and whatnot. And, sort of those conversations. But I think it would be interesting, since Neil has been personally affected by Stu, and Stu has really affected his whole family, that it would make sense for him to want to play judge, jury, and executioner in this scenario, even though maybe it might make some fans upset. I don't think Leslie and Neil should be the two ghost-faced together. I think it should be one or the other. So if that's one Ghostface, who is the second Ghostface? Well, I think it would make sense to pair a returning character with a new character. So it could be, one of the lawyers, or maybe even the judge. That would be crazy. And then we have the president of the Stu fan club as sort of a red herring, but maybe it's a double cross fake out, and it's like, oh, the fan club president is actually Ghostface, and stuff like that. So maybe, I'm not entirely sure yet who the second Ghostface would be, but also it could be, again, mirroring Scream 3, and there just only is one Ghostface. So yeah, tell me in the comments who you think should be Ghostface in the scenario, because I'm having a bit of trouble. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know your thoughts on this whole pitch in general. Do you think this is how Scream 7 will go? Do you think it's better than what Scream 7 will be? Just kidding. I don't want to compare myself to legendary writer Kevin Williamson, because I trust him and I think he'll make a great director, and I'm really excited for when it comes out next year. But that's kind of a long time to wait, so maybe in the meantime, watch this next video.